You are looking at sand ordinary. Unremarkable sand, the same stuff that fills beaches and riverbeds all over the planet. Now watch what happens when you heat it past 1,600 degrees Celsius, mix in a handful of other minerals, and let take over. That sand becomes one of the most versatile, ancient, and strangely beautiful materials humans have ever made: glass. The world produces roughly 130 million tons of it every year. It is in the screen you are staring at right now. It is in the windows behind you, the bottle in your fridge, the solar panels on rooftops, the lenses in operating theaters, and almost nobody knows how it actually gets made. I'm talking about the full industrial story, raw sand to finished sheet, and the numbers behind it are genuinely jaw-dropping. Stay with me. This is Orbit Chronicles, and if this is the kind of deep dive content you live for, hit subscribe right now, because we go here every single week. Here is the first number that should stop you in your tracks. The global glass manufacturing industry was valued at approximately $212 billion in 2025, and it is projected to exceed $351 billion by 2034, growing at nearly 6% per year. That puts it in the same conversation as the global pharmaceutical packaging market or the entire steel furniture industry, and it is accelerating. Asia-Pacific alone accounts for 40% of global glass production, with China leading as both the world's largest producer and consumer. India is moving fast too. In 2024 alone, the country added over 18 million metric tons in new container glass production capacity. Meanwhile, in container glass specifically, global output hit approximately 105 million metric tons in 2024, with over 830 billion glass bottles and containers produced worldwide in that year. This is not a slow, old-fashioned industry. It is one of the fastest scaling material economies on the planet. Before we get into the factory floor, it is worth understanding what glass actually is, because the answer is stranger than most people expect. Glass is not a liquid. It is not a crystal. It sits in its own physical category, an amorphous solid, sometimes called a supercooled liquid. At the atomic level, its molecules are arranged in a random, disordered structure, unlike metals or ceramics, which have repeating crystalline patterns. That disordered structure is precisely why glass is transparent. Light passes through it without being scattered by a regular lattice. It is also why glass can be shaped so precisely, why it does not corrode, and why it does not react chemically with food or medicine, making it the only packaging material that is completely inert. The primary raw material is silicon dioxide silica, which makes up roughly 70 to 74% of standard soda-lime glass by weight. The rest is soda ash, which lowers the melting point dramatically, and limestone, which improves durability and chemical resistance. Those three ingredients have been the backbone of glass making for thousands of years. Glass starts not in a factory, but in a mine or a riverbed. High-purity silica sand, the kind used in glass making, must contain at least 95% silicon dioxide and almost no iron oxide, which would tint the finished glass green or brown. After extraction, raw sand goes through a beneficiation process: washing to remove clay, screening to sort grain size, and magnetic separation to strip out iron-bearing minerals. Only after that does it qualify as glass-grade silica. The largest glass manufacturing facilities receive up to 5,000 tons of processed silica sand per week. At the factory, sand is weighed and combined with soda ash and limestone in precise ratios inside computer-controlled batching systems. Cullet crushed. Recycled glass is added to the mix. This is not just an environmental gesture. Every 10% of cullet added to a furnace batch reduces energy consumption by 25 to 3% because recycled glass melts at a lower temperature than virgin raw materials. Some green glass production lines now run on cullet ratios of up to 90%, dramatically cutting both energy bills and carbon output mixture feeds continuously into a regenerative furnace, a structure that can be the length of a large aircraft hangar, holding up to 1,200 tons of molten glass at any given moment. Inside, the temperature climbs to between 1,500 and 1,600 degrees Celsius. To put that in perspective, that is roughly 3 times hotter than lava flowing from a typical volcano. The furnace runs on natural gas, with heat recycled from the exhaust gases back into the incoming air supply, a system called regenerative firing that can recover up to 70% of waste heat and dramatically cuts energy costs. Inside this extreme environment, the raw minerals react chemically. The soda ash decomposes and releases carbon dioxide, the limestone breaks down, and everything fuses into a flowing, homogeneous liquid. The furnace also has a refining zone, a hotter section where the glass is held at peak temperature to allow trapped gas bubbles to rise and escape, leaving the melt completely clear. A single modern float glass furnace can operate continuously for 10 to 15 years without being shut down. When it eventually does shut down for repair, the process is called a cold repair, and it can take months and cost tens of millions of dollars. Here is where the process becomes genuinely extraordinary. When the molten glass exits the furnace at around 1,100 degrees Celsius, it does not go into a mold or onto a roller. It flows onto a bath of liquid tin, the same metal found in tin cans, only here kept molten at high temperature. Glass floats on tin because their densities are mismatched. Molten glass sits at around 23 grams per cubic centimeter, while liquid tin is far denser at about 65 grams per cubic centimeter. The glass ribbon glides across the surface, spreading naturally under gravity and surface tension into a perfectly flat, perfectly smooth sheet. The thickness is controlled with extraordinary precision, either by adjusting the speed at which the ribbon is pulled forward or by applying mechanical edge restrainers to compress or stretch the glass. The float bath chamber is sealed and filled with a protective atmosphere of nitrogen and hydrogen gas to prevent the tin from oxidizing, which would contaminate the glass surface. This method, the Pilkington float process, invented in 1952, now produces virtually all of the world's flat glass. The global float glass market was valued at over $50 billion in 2024 and is projected to reach $82 billion by 2033. As the glass ribbon leaves the float bath, it is solid but still extremely hot, around 600 degrees Celsius. Stress fractures would be inevitable if the glass cooled too fast, so it enters a long, carefully controlled cooling tunnel called an annealing layer. Over a journey of hundreds of meters, the ribbon cools gradually from 600 degrees down to near room temperature. The slow descent locks the molecular structure in place and relieves internal stress. Without it, glass would shatter unpredictably under the slightest pressure. At the exit end of the layer, automatic inspection systems scan the glass ribbon in real time using cameras and laser sensors, detecting bubbles, inclusions, scratches, or thickness variations invisible to the human eye. Defective sections are flagged and later broken off to become cullet returned to the furnace as recycled raw material. Approved glass moves forward to cutting lines where diamond-tipped wheels score the surface, and precisely positioned braking bars snap the sheet cleanly along the score line. The result? Perfectly flat, perfectly clear glass panels ready for distribution. Throughout the entire process, from furnace feed to finished cut sheet, A modern plant is monitored from a centralized control room where engineers track temperatures, glass viscosity, ribbon speed, and quality metrics in real time 24 hours a day. Switzerland exceeds 90% glass recycling rates. The European Union overall sits at around 75%. The United States, by comparison, manages just 31% globally. The average hovers around 50%. The gap matters enormously because every ton of recycled glass cullet that replaces virgin raw materials saves 590 kilograms of silica sand, 185 kilograms of soda ash, and 172 kilograms of limestone, and reduces carbon dioxide emissions by approximately 315 kilograms per ton. Using a 65% cullet ratio in a furnace reduces total energy consumption by around 20%. The global glass recycling market was valued at $42 billion in 2024, and at current growth rates is expected to reach $73 billion. By 2034, governments are stepping in the EU's circular economy. Action Plan is mandating higher recycled content across packaging and construction materials, and extended producer responsibility laws are spreading globally, forcing manufacturers to account for what happens to their products after use. And a global industry worth over $200 billion. That is the full journey from beach to building. From a grain of silica to the pane of glass in your window, the screen in your pocket, the bottle on your table. What makes glass remarkable is not just what it is how little it changes no matter how many times you recycle it. Unlike plastic, which degrades with every cycle, glass comes back identical every single time. The world produces 130 million tons of it annually. If we recycled all of it properly, we would save millions of tons of carbon emissions and billions of dollars in energy costs. The technology exists, the process works. The only thing lagging behind is the systems we use to collect it. That is the story of glass, ancient, industrial, elegant, and still not finished. If Orbit Chronicles earned your subscription today, leave us a comment telling us what material or manufacturing process you want us to break down next. We read everything. See you in the next.